Hey everybody, this is Erica from In the Company of Cards. If you're new here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. Thank you all for the support of this channel. I read all your comments and really appreciate them and appreciate the likes, the shares, the subscribes, the, what is it called? The hype. Thank you so much for all of it. All right, there's a lot going on in the news, which is why I came on a little bit early because I couldn't wait. So in no order, because that's how I roll. Um, you know what? I have to get my cards. Hold on. Sorry about that. I was so excited to get here and read for you all. I forgot that my cards were in my dining room where I was reading last night. Okay. So in no particular order, I'm just going to go down my list of things. There's maybe like, I don't know, five or so things that I want to look at with you today. So the first one, I mean, this is pretty, I probably should kind of slowly walk my way to this one, but I'm just going to jump right in the deep end. So, Mike Johnson, right? Speaker of the House. And I told you last time that he had pretty much intimated, more than intimated, that he was going to slow walk the swearing in of new Arizona Congresswoman Adelita Grijalva. Remember that she won the seat that she ran for after her father's death. Her father had held the seat. She is a Democrat, and she would be the 118th vote or whatever it is that they need in order to take a vote on whether or not the Epstein files should be released. So, of course, Mike Johnson, who is of the school, the Felon School of How to Do Business, wants to slow walk it. He can't walk. I don't know if he can slow walk it forever, but she's meant to be sworn in on the 7th of October. He can slow walk it to until the 14th, maybe longer. But anyway, someone, and it's actually more than one someone, it's a couple of someones, have come out of the woodwork and said that Mike Johnson has a profile on the Grinder site. If you don't know what that is, I'll just spell it for you and you can Google it or something. Grindr. It is, I'll just say it's a site that you go to if you want to, um, you know, you know what I mean? Uh, and it's a gay site. So these two people have said they put up pretty compelling videos and have said if he slow walks Adelita Grijalva's swearing in, they will put on blast, publicize um, his Grinder profile. So, I mean, now Mike Johnson is very anti-LGBTQ. His wife apparently runs some sort of organization that is specifically geared uh, towards what? I don't know. I mean, it's very anti-LGBTQ. What else can I say? So, what I'd like to know is, well, I mean, a couple of things I'd like to know. Will Adelita Grijalva be sworn in a timely manner, which is to say on the 7th? So that's the first question. And you know how it is with blackmail. I mean, he can say, "Ooh, let me swear her in because I don't want them to release my profile." Well, there's no guarantee that they won't release the profile anyway. So my second question is going to be, will the profile be released? Because, there's a lot of hypocrites. Lindsey Graham, looking at you, in our halls of government. And Mike Johnson may well just be one of them. So first, we want to know, will Adelita Grijalva be able to take her seat? among her colleagues and be sworn in on the 7th so that she can be the deciding vote when they take a vote about whether to vote on releasing the Epstein files. So bear in mind, they would be able to take a vote on taking a vote. I mean, everything's so convoluted, right? So I'm going to use her. We'll use the young woman card, and we'll see whether she will be sworn in a timely manner. Hope you all had a good weekend. I did. So here she is, the newly elected Congresswoman from Arizona. Hmm. Okay, I didn't pull too many clarifiers, just a few. So we have the coffin, the fish. This is Adelita Grijalva, the rider, and the crossroads. So what I will say is, with the coffin as the first card, something has changed. Remember that this is the card in Lenormand for transformation. And I can mirror it with the second card. I mean, I'm sorry, with the last card, which is Crossroads, which is to say that Mike Johnson was going this way, which was he was going to slow walk this swearing in as long as he could. But then a monkey wrench got thrown in his plans because people have threatened to expose his grinder profile. So I think that that has created a quite a shift in his plan. The second card is the fish. Here it's about emotion. You can imagine he's like clutching his proverbial, pearls and saying, "Oh my God, what?" Uh, really emotional about the prospect of this news getting out. So I think that she will be sworn in a timely manner. Blackmail's not great, is it? But sometimes you have to fight fire with fire. And when you're dealing with the devil, okay, so here's this coffin. I do think that it is this transformation. I think that um, Mike Johnson may have had a come to Jesus moment and say, "Oh, I don't want that out." Which, for Adelita Grijalva, who's in the center here, the clarifiers for this coffin are the stork, the book, and the anchor. And immediately what I thought of is, he transforms, he changes his opinion, which is good for her. It improves her situation. This immediately felt very much like, putting your hand on the Bible to be sworn in, and then being sworn in, sealed in, um, anchored in as a member of Congress with all of the rights and privileges that that brings, like being able to vote whether they can vote on um, showing the Epstein files. So I think that's great. I also drew cards on her, and the clarifiers are the bear, the birds, and the bouquet. So here she is, minding her business, mind you, just waiting. She didn't do the blackmailing, waiting to be sworn in. And what happened was Mike Johnson got strong armed by being blackmailed, bullied, um, about this is gossip, about, we will tell all your dirt, we'll put all your business in the street, tell everybody about the fact that you're on Grinder, etc. Um, and this is a gift to Grivalda because I can mirror these two. No, I mean, I'm sure she wouldn't approve of blackmail because blackmail's not nice. We all understand that. I am not advocating blackmail, but um, this gives her her flowers. And what are her flowers? Being sworn in to her seat, as she should be. I also drew clarifiers on the crossroads. So this is this sort of change of heart of Johnson. And the clarifiers are the house, the tower, and the letter. I mean, this is the change of heart. The house and the tower, the White House wants a certain thing, which is this to be slow walked, because of course they don't want the Epstein files out. Uh, this is the card, though, for government and votes. And if I take this last card and say that it's votes on the Epstein situation. And that gets transformed because I can mirror it again with our coffin. She will be the deciding vote when they vote on whether they can vote on um, opening the files. You get my drift? So I think that he will fold. He doesn't strike me as the courageous type, entertainment purposes only, and allegedly. I think he will fold, and I think he'll say, I have bigger fish to fry, so okay, uh, I'll swear her in. What am I going to do? I can't postpone it forever. And at least it'll keep the blackmailers at bay. Or will it? So let's now look at this blackmail. Uh, what do we, that's what, okay. What do we need to know? Hmm, no. What does Mike Johnson not want us to know about him? So I'm going to use the book because here the book will be standing for what he does, secrets, what he doesn't want us to know. Okay. So in the last reading that I just did, the book stood for the Bible that Grahava will put her hand on when she's sworn in. I'm thinking on the 7th. But now I am intending, right, for the book to mean something different. And this time it is Mike Johnson's Secrets. Geez, I don't know, maybe he doesn't have any secrets. So let's look for the book and see what we get. Mike Johnson's Secrets. I'm not usually so gossipy, but why not? Remember, we're looking for the book. Okay. So this is any skeletons that are in Mike Johnson's closet. Okay, so we have the woman, we have the child, we have Mike Johnson's secrets, we have the tower, and we have the mountain. Okay, these cards tell me he definitely has secrets. That's the first thing I want to say. And so this is his wife, and these are his children from whom he wants to keep things secret. This is his private business. This is the card for sort of autonomy and independence. So this is what he does on his own time, so to speak. and he wants to block them from those secrets from his family, and certainly, of course, from everybody else. So there are secrets in this fortress of his mind and in his life that he wants blocked. Okay, so then I looked for the secrets. I said, well, what are they about? Um, the heart, the snake, and the anchor. So this is a card for, I don't know if it's come up before in this context, but I will tell you that um, it's a card for infidelity. And we doubly know that we're talking about infidelity because we have the heart thing here. So in matters of the heart, he may not have been the most faithful person, and that has been sustained over a long period of time, allegedly for entertainment purposes only. But that seems to be what his secrets are about. Um, we have the tower here. Clarifiers are the rider, the tree, and the young man. Again, this is the tower that he where he keeps everything hidden. But do 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 do, the town crier is about to come out and say, over a long period of time, he has had friends, we'll just say. So, if you get my drift. Here's this mountain. This is him wanting to block all of this. And then we have crossroads, stork, and moon. He really wants to block this. He would like to change the subject. Let's not talk about that, because he really wants to have people, especially his family, keep a high opinion of him. This is a card for reputation. So, I mean, I have to say, I don't like him. I don't like his politics. But as an empath, I'm like, I feel his angst, his worry about this, his fear of being discovered. So I feel compassion for him on that level. But yes, he has secrets, and his secrets have to do with um, his love life, his private life, if you know what I mean. Um, there could well be a profile on that site. And now he's really, really, really worried, mostly about the wife and the kids. So what you do in the dark always comes to the light. I'm just saying. Okay. Another thing that I want to look at is so today the Supreme Court is meeting all day, and this is sort of they're not in session yet until like another week or so. This the 9th or something. I think they come back. But one of the things that they do prior to actually sitting and deciding is that they get together and they decide which cases they're going to take. And so one of the cases that is before them is something that we have talked about before. It is Ghislaine, and that is how you say her name, so please don't try to correct me. Um, Ghislaine Maxwell's appeal of her sentence, of her conviction, actually. Now, if you recall, and if you don't recall, I'm going to refresh your memory regardless. Ghislaine Maxwell's appeals claim lies with the fact that Epstein, when he was sentenced, he he signed an agreement. In agreement, in exchange for signing a guilty plea and taking the sentence that he was given, he wanted there to be a codicil, a sort of a condition. And the condition was that no one of his associates would be also implicated in any of his bad dealings. So, in other words, he was trying to keep other people from being prosecuted and convicted for being involved in his activities. Now, in that little agreement, which was signed off by the prosecution and by Epstein, in that agreement, my understanding is that Maxwell's name specifically does not appear. So, in other words, it didn't say specifically, okay, I'll go to jail for this length of time and I'll say I'm guilty so long as you don't prosecute Ghislaine Maxwell. The agreement didn't say that. It was more amorphous than that. It said, anyone, any of my associates, none of my associates should be um, prosecuted. So Epstein died, and again, the circumstances are suspect. And anyway, there's a lot of that going around, you notice. Suspicious deaths. Anyway, he dies, and now somebody's got to be left holding the ball. And the government decided that it was Maxwell. And so Maxwell was arrested, as you know, and convicted and imprisoned and all the rest of it. But she is arguing to the Supreme Court that her conviction should be overturned because, she says, I shouldn't have been prosecuted under the agreement signed by the prosecutor and by uh, um, Epstein. So this may seem granular and sort of so specific to her that, why would the Supreme Court take that case on? But there's actually a very good reason why the Supreme Court may want to take on the case. And that is that there's the broader issue. So this agreement was put together, hammered together for Epstein in Florida by a um, Florida prosecution or judge or whatever. And the claim is that um, Florida can make this decision, and then everybody in the nation, every other court in the nation, has to abide by that decision, not just the Florida people. Now, we know that the felon has already had issue with that, right? So he'll make some crazy, you know, fiat, and then it gets taken to court, and then a judge will shoot it down. And in those cases, 47 says, or the felon says, that's not fair. You shouldn't have jurisdiction over what I'm doing over here. Like, how can a judge in, I don't know, Pennsylvania overrule something that I decided in DC? You see the issue? So it's a little bit of a catch 22 because Maxwell is claiming that, yeah, if somebody decides something in Florida, then that goes for New York and LA and everywhere else. So that the deal that was made between Epstein and the prosecution should hold. It should, New York should not have been able to prosecute her, the argument is. So it's a very broad-ranging, potentially broad-ranging ruling that would, it would change a lot of things. So there's that. So that's why the Supreme Court may want to weigh in. On the other hand, a reason that the Supreme Court would not want to weigh in is because they don't really want to wade into the cesspool that is the Epstein saga. Even though more people than we realize in government and in the legislature and all of that are knee deep, if not neck deep, in the Epstein mess. So I guess what I want to know is I don't like to ask yes or no questions of Lenormand, but how will Ghislaine Maxwell's appeal be received by the Supreme Court. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Supreme Court as my focus card, and that will be the birds because they are a body of 9 people who sit and talk amongst themselves. So we're going to use the birds, and I would like to know how will Ghislaine Maxwell's appeal be received by them? Now, so they could say, yes, we'll take the case, or no, we won't take the case. If they say yes, we'll take the case, it means that it will be on the docket at some point in the next year. If they say no, we're not taking the case, then her only hope is a clemency from the felon when the felon leaves office. So that would be her sort of final ace in the hole. This is her penultimate ace in the hole, would be for the Supreme Court to take her case and to find on her behalf that her case should be overturned or her conviction should be overturned. All right, so we're going to look for the birds, and that will stand for the Supreme Court. We're looking at the Maxwell um, appeal claim. Okay, so remember, it's birds we're looking for. Okay, so this stands for the Supreme Court. Okay, so we have the moon, we have the fish, we have the Supreme Court, we have the dog, and we have the star. So I think the first thing to think about or to say is the fact that the Supreme Court is really concerned about its own reputation, as it should be. And I can mirror it with the star. So they're worried about their reputation moving forward into the future. How will this decision to take this case affect them in the future? First of all, one of the things that it would do if they took the case is it would take up a lot of their time and a lot of newsprint and a lot of airspace in the world of political commentary. And second card is the fish. Now, I've told you that fish is two things primarily, emotion and money. There's always money involved when you say the word Epstein. And I think there are probably justices on the court who were compromised, Alito and Thomas, entertainment purposes only and allegedly. But I can mirror this card with the dog. And the dog, this is the card for, in this case, going horizontally, attorneys. So, the Supreme Court, and I'm talking about the right wing of the Supreme Court, have a lot to think about. They've got their reputation to think about, public perception, and then money. Um, you know, has money changed hands such that they um, are willing to vote in Maxwell's favor? Okay, this is the court itself, and the clarifiers are the bear, the tree, and the heart. This is the court. And the court, and again, it is a right-wing majority, and they continue to be beholden to the narcissist in chief. They continue to, as they have been for a long time. So, you know, I mean, aren't they the ones that gave him full power, full immunity? Now, this fourth card, the dog, uh, Maxwell wants the court to be friendly towards her. So that's now I'm going vertically. So that's this meaning. She thinks that since the court is friendly to the felon by association, shouldn't the friend of my friend be my friend? That's her logic. The clarifiers tell a different story. Cross, sun, snake. Yes, the majority of the court is the friend of the felon. That's true. But they don't want to be any more crucified for that than they've already been. They don't want to take any more heat than they've already taken. They don't want any more problems than they've already had. Then we have the star, which is the card for, in this case, the future. And we have the lily, the coffin, and the house. Hmm. So that line that I just read you would lean me towards saying that the court will say, we're not touching this. You know, the jury has spoken, you were given your sentence, the felon set you up in that cushy jail, so you should be happy with that. And you never know, maybe you'll get lucky and he will give you a pardon. But we're not going to touch it. And I think that that's what's going to happen. So moving forward, they want peace around this issue. They don't want to be tainted by it any more than they've already been. And so if Maxwell's situation is to be transformed from what it is, which is, a 20-year term in jail, that will have to be through the White House's um, actions, because the Supreme Court will say, this is not going to be our call and our reputation on the line. Let it be the felons. So I think that from these cards, and again, I'm just doing cards. I might be right, I might be wrong. This is just Lenormand. I do think that the court will refuse to hear the case, even though there is that sort of larger argument that is quite legally interesting. If a decision is made in one jurisdiction, does that hold for every jurisdiction? That's an interesting question, because we are one country, but we're also comprised of different states. So who holds sway? And can a state have sway over an entire country? It depends on where your interests lie, what your opinion of that is. Sometimes you'll be for that, sometimes you'll be against that. And that's what's going on here. But I think that the court will say, as interesting as this case is in the broadest sense, in a theoretical sense, um, the fact that it's attached to this Epstein question, pass me with that. I don't want a part of it. I think that's what the court's going to say. So she will be, as they say, SOL, and we'll have to hope that the felon uh, commutes her sentence or offers her a pardon or whatever. And that won't be until he has left. He may not even have time. He might want to preemptively write that pardon and put it in a note in his desk or something, because I don't see him fulfilling his term and then leaving in an orderly manner. I don't think that he will fulfill his term. So, but in terms of the Supreme Court, I don't think she will get her case heard, her appeal heard. Uh, okay, couple more things, maybe, maybe one more thing. And then I'll make a mention of something. I wanted to just make an announcement of something, and then I can look at other stuff another day, like Wednesday. Okay, the government shutdown. So the government shutdown, if it were to happen, will happen tomorrow night. Tomorrow is the 30th. The continuing CR that was put in place expires tomorrow night. And we know that there are currently conversations, formal meetings with apparently the felon and with Thune and Johnson on one side, and with Schumer and Jeffries for the Democrats. And they're going to meet and discuss. And so they've each, kind of sold wolf tickets to the other side. If you know what wolf tickets means it's like threats. So what the Democrats want is for the Affordable Care Act to not go away and for health care insurance premiums to not go through the roof. Both things will happen if this if the bill is passed that the Republicans want. It will destroy, it'll throw like 4 million people off health care altogether, and it will raise insurance premiums for anyone who pays health insurance. This would be disastrous. So what they have said, the Democrats have said, is you need to erase that part, and then we'll think about giving you another CR. Uh, I wish that they would also play hardball and add on, and by the way, the Epstein files have to be opened. But apparently that's not part of what they are requiring, the Democrats. The Republicans have said, oh, yeah, you and what army? Because here's the thing, if you don't vote for another CR, if you don't pass this budget, uh, according to Russell Vogt, who's head of the budget management office, and who is the architect of Project 2025, and who is a rabid Christian nationalist. If you don't pass this budget, he says, um, then we're just going to fire a whole bunch of people. Now, to Schumer and Jeffries's credit, the Democrats, they have said, because you already fired a bunch of people. So, shoot your best shot because here's what you'll do. You'll fire them and then you'll need to hire them back because isn't that literally what you've done? Haven't you put out an all call for all of those people who spent 7 months out of work that now you want them back? Because you can't run things without them. So your threat, say the Democrats to the Republicans, is empty. So it's quite the standoff. Um, so, you know, a shutdown is bad for everyone. Can we all acknowledge that? I mean, a shutdown of government, you don't have to be a brain surgeon to know it's a bad thing. On the other hand, currently the Democrats have so few weapons at their disposal. I mean, I hate to put it in military terms, but here we are. That refusing to pass this budget is a big one. And we remember what happened back in March. Was it March? I think it was March, where Schumer folded and the CR was passed. So I guess what I want to look at is, whether there will be, well, think there will be a shutdown, but we can look. I'm trying to think what card I want to use for a shutdown. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do it differently. I'm going to look for the tower. And the question I'm going to ask is, and the tower will stand for government. And I'm going to ask what will happen to the government as of, tomorrow at midnight. What will happen tomorrow? What will happen with the government? Will it shut down? Will it stay open? Will there be some concession on the part of one or the other sides? For us, well, see, here's the thing. This is another little complication. For the felon, because I love that name. I'm so glad that somebody came up with it and I've taken it as my own. The felon would love a shutdown. Now, you might find that a little odd, right? Counterintuitive. He wants a shutdown because then whatever he does with government, whatever Project 2025 does, is done in the dark. They can just do whatever they want and there's no oversight. They don't have to tell anybody. They just do what they want. So that's why he wants a shutdown. We on our side, it's not that we want a shutdown, it's just that a shutdown is really the only weapon that we have. So it's a little more complicated than these things usually are. They're always complicated, but this has some added complications. Generally, one side really wants a budget to pass, the other side really, wants to stonewall it. But this is not that. This is more layered than that. Okay, so we're going to use the tower that will stand for government, and we're talking about this potential shutdown. Okay, so this is the government. Interesting. We have the ship, we have the rider, we have the tower, we have the felon, and we have the bouquet. Um, you know, this ship, which means moving, forward movement, and this bouquet makes me say, in the end, the budget will pass. Uh, you know, news coming in, right? And here's the felon. I'm going to pull clarifiers. I mean, obviously, eventually the budget will pass, but I want to look and see, well, what's that bouquet about? Whose side is that for? Will the Republicans say, okay, we give. If you pass this budget, we will put in writing that the ACA and insurance premiums will not be touched. That could happen. So let's pull some clarifiers for the bouquet and for the felon and for the government. Well, okay, so I pulled on the government and I got the house, the moon, and the lily. You know, um, this makes me think that Republicans are of two minds on this. On the one hand, uh, they want their budget passed. On the other hand, they also want to come out looking like good guys to the American people. This is problematic because if their budget does pass and the ACA gets gutted and premiums go up, people are not going to be happy, which is making me think they may agree. They may agree. They may say, okay, we will keep the ACA, we will keep those premiums where they are, just sign the damn thing. They could do that. Um, just so they're not blamed for any more than they've already been blamed for. Okay, we've got the felon, and the clarifiers are the young man, the anchor, and the bear. I suspect that the felon has said, I don't care what you all have to do, Republicans, pass my budget. I don't care what you have to do. I don't care what you have to threaten. I don't care what you have to agree to. Pass my budget. Well, if the only way they can pass the budget is to agree to what the Democrats have asked, demanded, which is maintaining the ACA and premiums, that's another piece of evidence that that could be what happens. And then we have the bouquet, and we have the ring, the scythe, and the star. I don't know. I think I like this. I think the budget gets passed. I think the ACA and premiums stay the same. That's the decision that's made for the good of the future. And I can mirror this future card with this star. Because if the budget is not passed, we're all in for some hurt. So I think that I mean, I'm going to say that the Republicans are going to cave on the health care piece. That's what I think. We'll know soon enough, right? Okay. I had other questions, but I guess I can save them till next time. I did want to make an announcement about my Substack. Um, I really appreciate so many of you who have gone there of a Thursday to read what I've written. And it has been free, but I'm going to paywall it starting this month. The the cost of a subscription to my Substack will be $5 a month. I totally understand if that's something that nobody wants to pay or that people don't want to pay, and that you may fall off as subscribers. I would be sorry to see you go, but I hope that you stay. I have to say, to be frank, I believe in energy exchange. I think energy exchange is really important. Um, I give what I give to you all here uh, with no charge, and my writing is something that a lot of you value. I certainly value it myself, and it takes me time and attention and care to craft a message that is one that is helpful to you all. So I've decided that I'm going to monetize that. So that's $5 a month. Um, so if you go looking for it on Thursday, you will see that there. And as I said, if you decide that that's not where you want to put your money, I'll see you still here, I hope. And I completely understand. But we all have bills to pay and um, roofs to keep over our heads. And I just think it's important that I value my work enough that I ask that you show me a token of how you value it. And you know how it is. We live in America, and the lingua franca, um, the language that we all speak is money. And so I wanted to keep the price low enough that it's less than $1 a week. But anyway, just wanted you to know that. All right, I will be back on Wednesday with some of the questions that I didn't get to that I think you'll be interested in. Thank you so much for your support of this channel, and I will see you Wednesday. Take care.